Hi everyone, welcome back to Kootenai and Beyond. My name is Brandon and this is episode 5, Veemo SE, 1 year later. So I've made a number of videos on the Veemo and so most of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with it. But for those of you who are new to the channel or it's been a long time since you've seen a video, I'm going to go over a little recap of what's happened in the last year, and then I think I'm going to have a discussion about the good, the what's tricky, and what could be improved upon with this e-trike.
Starting with the recap, this is the Veemo SE, manufactured by Envo Drive Systems out of Burnaby, British Columbia. It is a 3-wheeled electric pedal and throttle assist, up to 32 kilometers per hour or 20 miles per hour in North America, and up to 25 kilometers per hour in the EU, UK, Northern Ireland. Max power output is up to 750 watts in the US, 500 in Canada, and 250 watts across the pond. This makes it a Class 2 e-bike and is compatible with bike lanes. And contrary to what some people on the internet have claimed, no, you do not need a license in any of these jurisdictions as far as I know. The power supply, which is hidden up front here, is a 48 volt 15 amp hour UL2271 lithium ion battery, good for 30 kilometers per hour or 18 miles to 100 kilometers or 62 miles. However, in the real world, I have managed 30 kilometers range in the winter time and up to 65 in the summer on dynamic terrain. Regarding the cab, there is a bit of confusion and disagreement online about whether or not it was a good idea to build an open concept design. That is, that there are no windows or doors to block wind or rain or the elements from the sides. And I can tell you from personal experience that this is not nearly as big a problem as people think it is. The window and the roof provide more than adequate protection year-round from the majority of the elements. Yes, you still need a warm coat in the winter and a toque because it's still cool outside. And in the fall and spring, when we get a lot of rain, it is necessary to wear a rain jacket, a waterproof rain jacket, to keep the drops off your arms. But in terms of the rest of the body, the torso, legs, feet, no problem staying dry at all.
So the original unit that I purchased, it was an early adopter model, and we tested it out for VMO and we gave a lot of feedback, and thankfully they took a lot of that feedback to heart and they made some very nice quality of life improvements. These grips here which attach the plastic shell to the frame are significantly improved. They added some new material to help stiffen and dampen sound in the cab. And I don't know if you can hear much. It's pretty darn quiet. It didn't used to be like this, but it is now, and it's been so nice. So I'm super happy with the improvements that Envo did, especially for the retail version of this. Let's move down into the cab here. Veemo has full suspension, a strut on the left side, strut on the right side, and a coil spring rear suspension with a single pivot point. Overall payload, including the rider and the cargo, is 59 kilos or 350 pounds. And for those of you who don't really like doing the math, I am about 165, which allows for approximately 180 pounds of groceries, which has also been really nice. In my commuter bike, I always had to think about space and weight. It's much less of an issue in the Veemo. Moving to the front, we have the wiper. It does a great job even in the winter time. No issues. And for those of you who might have seen in a previous video, Envo has installed a proper bracket and has moved the wiper height up so that my eye line is now below the top of the wiper, and I can see when it rains. And I'm 6'2", and they specifically said this could accommodate riders up to 6'3". So they have fulfilled that promise. And now I just have to switch this on here. Headlights. Yeah. Nice LED headlights in the front. And then in the rear, very bright. This is one of the Veemo's better features, I think. I was really impressed. I've driven this thing in the pitch black, and I have added a few reflectors, and my tires have reflective white stripes on them too. And just a few more reflectors in the back. Probably add some more later. But I've never felt like drivers, couldn't see me at night, and never really had a difficult time seeing where I'm going, except maybe in the darkest nights if it's foggy. But then everyone's having a hard time. Next section is what's tricky, and for that we're going to talk about the steering, but not so much the inside, not so much the steering column. No, we're going to have to move down in here. There. So, what's tricky with the steering? Well, it's part engineering, part physics, and part commercial viability. The Veemo SE was designed with a fixed steering rack with flexible steering parts, as opposed to some of those fancy European box cargo trikes you see, where the steering, entire steering rack flexes from side to side. Now, the advantage to this is, with the exception of this point, and this point here, and this point here, that's about all there is for moving parts on this side and of course on the other side. So the point being that the steering was specifically designed with simplicity in mind. It has few moving parts, it's cheap to manufacture, and fairly cheap to fix if damaged. So that's the engineering and commercial viability. Let's talk about physics. Why did they design a system like this for this e-trike? Well,
because the rider is sitting in a semi-recumbent position on top of the frame here, it creates a high center of gravity. And that required Veemo to design this bike with smaller wheels. These ones in the front here are 20 by 1.75, and in the rear, 20 by 2.30. The disadvantages to having smaller wheels is that it reduces but does not eliminate tip in corners at high speeds or off-camber terrain. And the rider, much like an ATV, needs to lean into the turns. That's called active rider. The other disadvantage is having small wheels on a narrow fixed axle is that the bike becomes unstable when it exceeds its maximum design limit of 32 kilometers per hour.
Part 2 of what's tricky: the rear wheel removal and installation. I've covered this before, but it's kind of a big one, so I'm just going to mention it briefly here. So as you can see, the rear wheel, unlike the front, is installed like a pretty standard wheel setup. You have the rear part of the frame here with your hangers, your axle hanger. This one happens to be secured by a bolt, which is a little bit different, but otherwise, yeah, axle hanger on one side, and of course on the other side also a bolt. So the issue with this design is, one, if you want to switch out your tires like myself, this e-trike comes with summer tires, but I have since switched out the summers for my winters. These ones happen to be studded. These are the Schwably Winter Plus. They're really good tires. I've had great success with them, both rear and in the front. But switching it out is a pain in the butt. This particular design is your standard design for a rear hub direct drive system. So you got to suspend the bike way up in the air, detach the power coupling, put the chain into the highest gear. It's 9 on this particular drivetrain setup. Take the bolts, or loosen the bolts, and tire drops out like with any conventional bike. You do have to fiddle around with it a little bit. It's not terrible. Getting it out is easy. You switch the tire like normal. It doesn't matter that it has a hub in the middle. It's you know, no difference. But getting it back on. So this design on standard hub, rear hub e-bikes, it's meant to be turned upside down so you can drop the wheel back in. You obviously can't do this with this gigantic trike system. So you have to do everything in reverse, of course. You have to get the axle between the two levels of the chain. You have to get, of course, the disc. The disc into the brake pad housing, and you got get the axle lined up with the hangers. Also, what you need to note is the axle is not perfectly cylindrical. It is rounded on the top and the bottom, and straight on either side. So you also have to get a wrench and move the axle ever so slightly so that you bend it like so, and line it up with the hangers, which are not vertical. They're kind of at an angle, and you have to hook it in. So imagine doing that while this big thing is suspended in the air. I use cinder blocks at home, and trying to get this ridiculous thing back in. It's a pain in the butt. I'm gonna be completely honest about that. And if I ever get a flat tire, I don't know. I mean, I have the tools to deal with it, but these are tubed tires, and I guess I'm just gonna have to use whatever's lying around to suspend this in the air and fix it. Fortunately, in my particular part of the world, it's not been an issue. In the whole year I've had this, I haven't had a flat tire once. But I don't know. For those of you in other parts of the world where where punctures are more common, I don't know, maybe you can maybe the rims are tubeless ready, or maybe you can find rims that are tubeless ready. I'm not sure. Until it actually becomes an issue, you know, I'm not going to stress about it too much. It's just, you know, it's a pretty glaring issue. The engineers knew about it when they designed it, and they put it out on the market anyway. Yeah, that's all I've got for this section. Next section, what can be improved? The drivetrain on the Veemo SE is a Shimano Altus 9. It is a 1x9 speed drivetrain and shifter, which was designed by Shimano to be cheap to manufacture and mass produce. It's widely available to replace if damaged and worn out, and it is designed to be simple and durable, and it really is. You can throw water, sand, snow, slush, ice, and it will still work. But while all that is true, simultaneously, it is very much a cheap piece of junk. So how can it be both at the same time? Well, I say that because I've had mixed experiences with it. I have put over 1,000 kilometers on this thing. I ride it year-round in all weather conditions, and it has held together pretty well. That being said, I do have some few issues with it. For example, it won't stay in 8th gear properly. Also, moving up onto the bike, the shifter, the clicks up. The clicks up do work really well. However, the clicks down into the higher gears, you have to push the lever or the paddle quite far and hold it for it to engage properly. I know some might point out that it has something to do with the rather extreme length of the chain and the shifter cable. However, I don't think that really explains it. I just don't think it is a, very well engineered system. So yeah, it's kind of good, it's kind of not. I will certainly be looking into upgrading to a higher quality system once the cassette wears out. I've already replaced the chain that I guess 3 chains that came with it. They only lasted about 750 kilometers, which is ridiculous. I put a much higher quality chain on it. So the chain and the cassette still have a ways to go. I'm hoping to get another 1,000, maybe 1,200 kilometers on it before I think about upgrading. And, I'll just deal with it, deal with whatever, issues come up with it in the meantime. Part 2 of what can be improved upon. The brakes. So the Veemo SE is equipped with 3 hydraulic disc brakes, 2 203 millimeter brakes in the front, and 1 180 millimeter disc in the rear. Single piston. So it gives reasonable stopping power, but nothing crazy good. They are made by a company called Diasland, which is a Chinese manufacturer. They are not known to be the highest quality parts manufacturer. However, they do produce pretty, fairly good brake pads. Some vibrating and a little bit of noise, but good stopping power. The pads do wear out quickly, but they're cheap and easy to replace. I already ordered a few sets of replacement pads. Their website is shockingly easy to use. They have distribution centers in both the UK and in Canada. So no tariff costs, and that's really nice. The most I guess difficult part about replacing them is getting it exactly centered in the housing. When you just put them on, there's actually quite a bit of play, and it takes a few tries to get them exactly centered. So yeah, like I said, I will most likely, or just like with the drivetrain, I will most likely upgrade these once the rotors wear out. But I'm not going to worry too much about it in the meantime. You know, they work well enough for what I need them for, and I'm not really big into wasting a whole bunch of money and pulling out perfectly good brake pads. So final thoughts with the Veemo SE after a year of ownership. Overall, you know, I'm pretty happy with it despite some of its shortcomings. One point that I really wanted to stress is unlike some other bikes, especially e-trikes, especially with like the cab, semi velo mobiles, and things of that sort, Envo has specifically equipped this with common and easy to find bike parts. There's very little proprietary hardware on this thing, except for, you know, obviously the cab and parts of the frame, and maybe a little bit of the electronics, or at least like the wiring. But yes, mostly they used easily available, easily accessible bike parts that are upgradable should you choose to do so. I will admit that value-wise, the argument for Envo's products being kind of on the lower to mid tier and more affordable, it's not as much like that anymore. Like they're still on the lower to mid tier, but the prices have gone up quite a bit. I believe this Veemo now retails for 9,800 Canadian, something like that, which is, for some people, might be a bit of a big ask for what you get. Of course, one could also argue that even at that price point, it's still substantially cheaper than a decent quality used vehicle, especially when you include the cost of ownership for both the Veemo and the used vehicle. If I didn't have this and I had to and I was looking for a covered e-trike in kind of a recumbent, semi-recumbent seating position, right now I think I would still buy it. And that's all I have to say for this review. So thanks for joining me, and See you next time.